You know, this cancelled series of mine we've been doing for a fair while, and there's a notable theme across most of the ones we've covered so far. They're all set in the same period. I feel like I'm trapped in 2016 every time. Did you know there was a corporate reshuffle at DreamWorks? But today, we're still touching 2016, but this is the most recent of cancelled productions we've done so far, and it's not DreamWorks. Today, we're touching on the somewhat rare appearance of a Disney cancellation, and one that had the final nail in the coffin land just last year. It's been suggested many a times on our Discord, and that is the project that was Disney's Gigantic. Now, Gigantic was a planned computer-animated musical comedy film announced back on August 14th, 2015 by John Lasseter at the D23 Expo. And more so than just being any musical, it was specifically sprouting off of the backs of a very popular duo from that time, with the songs being written for the film by Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez. Who are they? Well, they're none other than the Academy Award-winning creators behind the songs in Frozen. Yes, these guys are the ones you can blame for those songs playing on repeat for 3 years back then? Unsurprisingly, the pair won for Best Original Song with Let It Go, so translating them onto another major Disney musical can only mean the best feat were going forwards with this. That's not the correct phrase. As for other members of the team, there was producer Dorothy McKim, who produced the acclaimed short Get a Horse, or something that I can at least understand as producer for Meet the Robinsons, as well as helping in some form on pretty much everything Disney from the last 20 years. And then there's the other big swinger on the crew, director Nathan Greeno, known for co-directing Disney's other released CG musical, Tangled, for all of you anti-Frozen hipsters. Also writing Meet the Robinsons and being the story artist for several other Disney projects. This is a real Meet the Robinsons reunion. So what is this Gigantic? What's it all about? Well, it's sort of like your classic Disney prompt, just done very, very late. Adapting archaic fairy tales again. We've had Cinderella, Snow White, Little Mermaid, Rapunzel, and now Jack and the Beanstalk, with a few changes of course. As director Nathan Greeno said himself, we want to make the definitive version of Jack and the Beanstalk. It's not what you've seen before. It's not one big castle with one big giant walking around. Pretty cool, starting to see all sorts of room for potential in such an open prompt. After this first official announcement, more crew members then started popping up to public knowledge, like Raymond S. Percy, who confirmed on social media that he would be storyboarding for the film. Previously known for the likes of late 90s Simpsons, Sing, Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Frozen and Get a Horse. This is a well-oiled machine of a team that clearly have a lot of overlap, huh? Greeno described Gigantic as a sort of tearjerker, though also one that'll have plenty of comedic moments as well. So, we get the idea. Let's get into the actual plot synopsis. There's a handful of descriptions online. I'll make some sort of merger of them all. So, set in Spain during the Age of Exploration, a young adventurer named Jack is who the film follows as he comes into possession of some magic beans, which lead him to discover a world of giants hidden within the clouds, including a 60-foot-tall 11-year-old girl called Inma, who he befriends. Described as fiery, feisty, and very hard to control. Initially, she mistakes Jack for a toy, treating him like a living doll, but the pair eventually form a tight bond, tighter than her rib-crushing grip. He agrees to help her find her way home, and they join forces to stop the Storm Giants, our antagonists of the film, who tower at 120 feet tall, who are a group of enormous bad guys who are wreaking havoc. The film would be one with comedy and deep emotion, and certainly a divergence from the original since the main giant is already a more innocent, little-ish girl within a whole world of giants. Now that's just the synopsis in its somewhat simplest form, but there are all sorts of other elements we can still learn about the film. For example, everything from the film's concept art to its storyboards were all shown off at the announcement of the film, which I imagine you all saw anyway as we went through that summary. But there was loads more shown at this specific presentation. Like, how's about a sample of the music from Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez? I don't actually have the song, or the sound of it, but we do have lyrics. I would sing it to you myself, but no one wants to hear that. I can't bear to imagine seeing the audience retention chart after that. But we can analyze the lyrics briefly. But first, you should subscribe, hit the bell. Here are our other links. And a new one to the collection, Facebook. More social media stuff from me, you know. Anyway, lyrics. I love my little man, I love my little man. You can make him do this, you can make him do this. presumably from the giant discovering Jack in the early days and still thinking of him as a little doll. You can wash him in a dish, be careful he gets ticklish, my teeny little man. There are so many things you can do with a little man. You can toss him in the air, you can pet his tiny hair, my pretty, pretty, pretty little man. You can make him do this, you can make him do this, and he even makes a pretty good bookmark. This? Horrifying, but we also actually see it with one of the concept arcs, squishing Jack between the pages of a book. Rip Jack! In a life that's kind of lonely, I thought if only I had a little man. All culminating on the real reason behind the song and a peer into Inmar's psyche. She is in fact lonely and without friends. Maybe it's a child thing, maybe it's a not being a bad guy thing, or some theories suggest it might be an actual father figure thing. With Inmar not having a father, being so desperate for a little man could make a lot of sense, and opens up a lot of doors for emotional development if Jack ends up having to take that role. And the size difference certainly allows for the comedy to swing into. Or it could be she's lonely because she's not at home and she needs to get home, as the plot synopsis said. Whatever the case, it's kinda Anna's arc again. All the while, Jack is being little manhandled, thrown around in a paper airplane, being dishwashed and all that fun. And since it's not clear, it's a toss-up between whether Jack would be squirming through all these moments, hence the ticklish line, and a comment of being a living doll in the synopsis, or if he was playing dead just in order to survive, as opposed to actually starting to talk to Inmar here. And some speculated that this ruse would continue with any interaction with other giants, considering they're probably a lot less agreeable. Still, this is a look into an early sequence of the film, and during the presentation, this song was fully being performed by the songwriters as the relevant concept art went by. Here's an exasperated Jack at the mercy of Inmar, Inmar proudly holding up her new toy up into the air. Here's Inmar looking mischievously down at a hopeless Jackie. He sure is hopeless a lot in this film, isn't he? But beyond just the music samples, the concept art, the logo, and all that jazz, there's not actually jazz in this, but anyway, that was a stupid joke. Why did I say it? It's not even in the script. There was further proof of Gigantic's serious progress on the development line, at least in concept, as much like Pixar and their films, snuck in places are of course references from other movies. And just like Newt with Toy Story 3, the same happened here with this cancelled project still reaching the big screen in referential form. You either know this or you don't, but it is in Zootropolis. You can guess where. There's that big Easter egg scene with a bunch of DVD covers, right? You've got all sorts of references with Pig Hero 6, Wrangled, Wreck-It Rhino, and right alongside all of them is Giraffic, turning Jack into a squirrel and the Beanstalk into a giraffe's neck. Classic. This is as close to the real thing as we will ever get, probably. Unless they choose to revive this project in the future, which I guess is possible, but anyway. There is no official footage from the movie, unfortunately. So yes, this is as HD and in color and in motion, I guess, as it gets. What went wrong? Well, in 2015, Gigantic was pushed back to March 9th, 2018, and was originally set to be entitled just Giants, actually. However, on June 30th, 2016, Walt Disney Animation Studios announced that Ralph Breaks the Internet would be released on that date, and Gigantic would launch instead on the 21st of November, 2018. Okay. A little later, on October 3rd, 2016, things were still going well, at least on the Disney front. DreamWorks, you'll never guess what was happening to them. As a new crew member was added, with writer Meg LaFauve being announced to join the film as a co-director with Nathan Greeno. Previously working slightly outside the Disney animation sphere with a history in writing Inside Out, Captain Marvel, The Good Dinosaur, and ironically Gigantic, a TV show that has no relevance to this at all. Still, some people were really hyped up about this edition, with the massively successful promotion of Jennifer Lee from screenwriter to director with Chris Buck within Frozen, which clearly paid off looking at how well Frozen turned out. Very much Disney mirroring their prior great moves. On April 25th, 2017, Disney then announced that the release date had now been pushed up to November 25th, 2020, scheduling it to be the 59th animated feature in the Disney animated canon, following the release of Frozen 2 in November 2019. And Ralph Breaks the Internet took Gigantic's November 2018 slot. And then Gigantic was eventually pulled from the film slate entirely, because Gigantic had some creative delays, even after Disney had hired Meg LaFauve to co-write and direct the movie. According to Disney and Pixar Animation president Ed Catmull, the project was cancelled due to creative differences. Wow, how descriptive there. And Disney had to admit defeat and stated that the movie's concept just wasn't there. It's impossible to know when we begin a project how the creative process will unfold, and sometimes, no matter how much we love an idea or how much heart goes into it, we find that it just isn't working, Catmull clarified. With Gigantic, we've come to that point, and although it's a difficult decision, we are ending active development for now. We are focusing our energies on another project that has been in the works, which we'll be sharing more about soon, now set for Thanksgiving 2020. It was Raya and the Last Dragon. That got delayed too because it's 2020, remember? And that was the very small tale of Disney's cancelled Gigantic. They keep these things pretty tight-lipped, eh? The way they mention creative differences could be interpreted as struggling to work with the concept well enough, or it could have been a full-on internal conflict of ideas. But we will never know. Jack and the Beanstalk is one of those classic fairy tales though, so I imagine if there's any motivation for a dropped film to be picked up again, it would probably be here. Of the changes we did get to hear, it certainly looks to be an interesting and functional prompt, but the rest is up to our imagination. There was no super musical sequel to Frozen, unless you count Frozen 2. Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez would go on to work with the WandaVision soundtrack as well as Spies in Disguise, and they worked on Coco? These guys are legendary. But even with Disney's Encanto coming up, they're not involved. Oh, that's because Disney labbed Lin-Manuel Miranda for that. I guess that makes sense. Even still, this giant beanstalk story has wilted, and the only Disney adaptation we've got is the 74-year-old version that is Mickey and the Beanstalk. I guess it'll do. For now, my name's been Dazz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.